What's up, guys? It's your host here, Spartanic Arts DxD, back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei Was Betrayed, part 11. If we could try to hit 300 to 400 likes, that'd be absolutely amazing. And if you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button, or the first link in the description, or the first link in the comment section, or the first link in the premiere if you are here. Thank you so much for the support, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, let's go and thank my Balance Breakers / Juggernaut Drive members. VR Wolf, Lachlan Yates, Cool Ninja 12, Dark Phoenix, and Anthony Lewis, and Ant Lewis. Thank you for being a Juggernaut Drive member. As for my Balance Breakers, Iki 2000, Nuga Booga Ooga, Night Ammo, and Ardit's Krenzi. Thank you so much for becoming a Balance Breaker. Seriously, I cannot appreciate you guys enough. Absolutely amazing. As for my Patreon members, which is an exclusive Patreon stuff where I post like private content on there, it'd be absolutely amazing if you could join. Let's go ahead and talk about my Patreon members. Smells Noise, Lachlan Yates, God Healer, Dragon33171, Colt, Mark Bacon, WebRex771, Just Zeke, and Abraham Soto. Thank you so much for becoming a Patreon member. Seriously, I cannot thank you guys enough. This episode is also pretty good, pretty banger, I would assume, but without any further intrusions, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into What If Issei Was Betrayed, Part 11. Chapter 13. Issei woke up after an uneventful night. He knew that he needed to talk to Kano and see how she was. He was grateful that he could have an open communications with Gravia and Milikis as well. They wouldn't have to sneak around about. He also knew that he needed to inform his mother about the rings like he did with Yakuza last night. Another day, Issei said as he got up and stretched. He got ready for the day, but not too much, as he knew that he was going to get a workout once he entered Tanin's territory. Suddenly, a small communication circle appeared by his ear. "Hello?" Issei said, as he was unsure who was contacting him. "Greetings, Issei. I hope I didn't disturb you," Sir Zex says. "You know, I'm not doing a job unless you pay me, Sir Zex," Issei said. "I understand that, but I'm not calling about that. Due to your arrival and challenge, the media would like a word with you and your opponents, similar to how you were interviewed when you first faced Cyroorg," Sir Zex says. "When would this media day be?" Issei says. "In a couple of days. I can send the details to Yakuza. If you are still in her territory," Sir Zex says. "That's fine. I'll be here till after the raiding game is over." "Okay, I'll send the details over. Thanks," Sir Zex says. "Uh-huh," Issei replied, letting the communication circle dissipate. "Alright, first thing is talking with Kano-chan. Then I'll head to Tanin's territory." He left his room and headed to the dining hall where Imigold, Minerva, Orpheus, and Lilith were. "Morning," Issei said. "Morning," Issei-san, Imigold replied. "Hello, dear," Minerva replied. "Oni-chan," Lilith said. "Hey," Orpheus replied. "Where's Yakuza-san?" "And Kano-chan," Issei said. "Yakuza had business to attend to. She's wondering if you could go speak with Kano," Minerva says. "I already planned to," Issei replied. "It's hard losing someone close to you, especially at a young age." "Yeah," Issei replied. "It's a sad cycle of life and death." Orpheus says. Minerva replied. "That's why I made a promise last night." "What promise was that?" Imigold says. "Burn Aris and not to die." As he kissed Lilith on the head and addressed her, "Lilith-chan, I'm going to need you on your best behavior. Do you understand?" Issei says. "Lilith will be good," Lilith replied. "I mean it. I'm going to need you to make sure that Kano-chan is happy again. She's going to need your support. She's going to need all of your support." As he looked to everyone. "Okay, Oni-chan." Lilith says, "Good. And when I say be good, that also means that you have to listen to Minerva as well." Lilith pouted at that. "Don't pout with me. Come here and give me some love," holding his arms out so he can give him a small hug. She likes getting to hug him. "I promise to keep you safe until the day I die of old age, okay?" Issei says, whispering in her ear. "Okay," Lilith says, "so please listen. I love you," nuzzling his head to hers as he snuggled into the crook of his neck. "Love you too," Lilith says. She mumbled into his neck while she was still coming to terms with her emotions. She knew that the Hyodo were her family. "Now, don't cause any trouble," Issei says. As he let her go, "I'm going to get Kano-chan and bring her here. Then I'll be heading to the underworld." "Which lover are you spending time with? The blonde, the silver-haired one, or the brunette?" Minerva says. "At the moment, neither. I'm going to heading to Tanin's territory. After that, I may stop by Agara's clan and speak with Raspaisa because I need to speak with Zenobia. I'll need her help in training on weapons, or rather using Murasama more," Issei says. "I see," Minerva says. "I also need to schedule with Riser. I was supposed to speak with him after the meeting, but as you know, we got sidetracked. Sorry you had to miss out on seeing Iri-chan." Imigold, Issei says. "It's fine. I already had one baby to deal with." Imigold says. "Lilith is not a baby." Pouting again. "You'll always be a baby to me and our parents, Lilith. It's why I must protect you." Before going back to her breakfast, Orpheus simply patted her head and spawned back, while smiling again. Alright, Issei said. I'm off. Giving kisses to Minerva, Imma Golden hugs to Orpheus and Lilith. He should have known Lilith would want another hug. Aw. He then left the dining hall and headed outside to the palace. He had an idea of where Kano would be. He remembered that they found a spot along the river and he just enjoyed the sounds of nature. He knew it would be a trek, but he always knew where his little sisters were and he headed into the forest. An exciting thing that he enjoyed when fighting Kano was that he was able to check his tracking ability. It was something that Ryoga taught him, so that he'd be capable of hunting down his enemies. Added to his dragon capabilities, he proved it to be a viable threat. He was hoping that the raining game would give him a territorial advantage, but even if it didn't, he was sure that he would win. Issei followed along the footsteps as he was sure were Kano's when she trekked through earlier that day. He would have just locked in her magic signature, but it was the thrill in the hunt that prevented him from doing so. He began to hear splish and splashing of the water and knew that Kano was skipping rocks across the stream that was next to the secret place. He was proven right as he watched her, but he could tell that her mind was elsewhere. The rocks was skipping didn't make it across. He knew he was capable of doing it that because she had seen her do it before. She was also did not smell his presence either, as well as he hid his magnet signature from her. Kano should still be able to smell him out. Everything all right, Issei says, making her get startled. Oni-sama? Kano says as she looked at him. I know you heard about Ryoga, seeing the dried tears that were on her face. I'm sorry. Kano looked down in sadness as she was reminded of her uncle that she lost, while Issei sat on the grass. Come here, Kano-chan. Patting the ground next to him, Kano just shrugged along to where he said and plopped down on the ground next to him, where she did. Issei wrapped his arms around her and pulled her close to him. Kano wanted to cry again, but it felt like her tears were dried up as she cried last night and cried again this morning. I know it hurts, little sister. What they did to Ryoga was unforgivable, Issei says. That's not why I was crying about this morning. Then what was it? I was crying about what would happen if I had left. I almost lost Oka-sama nearly 2 years ago. I already lost Ryoga Oji-sama. What if I lose Oka-sama? This time or Orpheus-sama, or Lilith-chan, or even you? Issei let out a sigh as he rubbed her shoulders. You're not losing me unless I die of old age. Other than that, I can't die. I made a promise to Yasa-san that I will come back from whatever mission that is given to me, so I can ensure you that you have a future, not just you, but also Lilith-chan. Though she will probably remain a child, she also continued to get babied, but let's not keep that between me and me. It made Kano smile a little bit. Also, Milikis and my new niece. Kano says, that's right. Milikis has a little sister now. Her name is Iria. She's the opposite of Milikis, which you know. He has Terzex's hair and Graphia's eyes. Iria has Graphia's hair and Terzex's eyes. You'll like her when you meet her. Really, Kano says? Mm-hmm. You were asleep last night, Issei says, but it's why Minerva and I didn't come back with you girls. Oh, yeah, and if you don't know, you'll get to see me fight, Issei says. Really? Kano says, perking up a bit. That's right, I have a rating game against the Gremory Parage and the BL Parage at the end of the week. Isn't that a little much, Kano says? No, I don't think so. Keep in mind, Rias has lost pieces. If she still had Rosvisa, Gasper, and Zenobia, I might have been a little worried, but I only need to worry about Kiba, Issei says. What about her new boyfriend, Kano says? His clan ability only works if he knows how my technique works. I think he's still under the assumption that I rely on the boosted gear. I've only used my sub balance breaker lately and not my full one. But you don't have different techniques, Kano says? Yes, but he doesn't know that. All I know is that I will win. Right now, my job is to make you feel better. Kano just snuggled close to him. Thank you. You don't need to thank me, Kano-chan. It's my job as being a big brother to you is this sort of thing. While that was going on, Issei sensed another presence that she may have tried to hide herself, but due to the encounter with Issei knew her scent. You're awesome, big brother. Nah, you're just saying that, Issei said, chuckling. I just want to see you smile, to see Lilith-chan smile, Milikis and Eri-chan. I want you guys to live a happy life. You should not have to grow up in the times of war, so I can prevent that. So you can live your lives as children. Then I will do that. You just focus on training and getting stronger, and maybe one day you'll beat me, bopping her on the nose, and it made her giggle. I will one day. I know you will. In fact, your trainer saw earlier by the day. Isn't that right, Kuroka? Issei says. This made Kanu's eyes widen. I didn't think you would notice me, Kuroka says. She stepped out of the shadows of the forest. Issei got look of her, and it seemed that she wore a yukata in more casual setting compared to her catsuit that she wore on. However, he noticed that she wasn't showing as much skin either. It wasn't hanging off her shoulders like she usually wore. It made him wonder why she didn't show off her body as much anymore. She had an amazing figure. Kuroni, Kano says, hey Kano-chan, how are you holding up? What are you doing here? They said you wouldn't show up until tomorrow at least. She did, Issei says, nodding to Kano. Well, as you know, I've been training with Kano-chan, so I know that Ryoga and her were close. I figured I should check in on her to see if she had been informed about what happened. Uh-huh, and how do you know of this place? Issei says. Kano showed it to me one day after our training sessions. It's peaceful. Sometimes I come here to think, Kuroka says. I see, as he looked at Kano, who shrunk into Issei's embrace in embarrassment. Considering how you're looking at her, Kuroka says, I assume this was your speaker spot with her. It's fine. I'm not going to try to wipe your memory or anything. She brought you here because she trusts you, so it's all good. You can come sit down with us if you want. Thanks, Kuroka said, as she moved in to sit on the other side of Issei. She kept her distance, but she felt his warmth. No wonder people float to him. His aura is warm and sincere, she thought to herself. So what's going on? Thought you guys would be hunting other Chaos Brigade members that may have Orpheus's power, Issei says. Well, the team has gone out to do that. I requested a leave of absence so I could be with Kano and make sure she's alright. I know Yakuza would be busy since we know that we have a war coming. No, it's already here, Issei said as his eyes narrowed. The moment they started turning our people into those abominations, they already declared war, but it is possible that I could have started it and they have retaliated. How so? Kuroka says. You saw what I did to those bases. I hunted down those brigade members, and it's possible that some of those bases belong to Eris. That's understandable, Kuroka said. However, you heard how the gods spoke of him. They must have known him, Issei says. Yeah, worse. That guy, Cephas, he's made from Hades. He has the potential to be as strong as him, Kuroka says, or stronger. We're really going to have to train. Hades is one of the top 10 strongest beings along with Sir Zex Sajuka. We need to rise to their level to be able to take these guys down. And considering that they took the necromorph that was once Ryoga, they have what they need to make more like him. That's regenerating necromorph that doesn't have the limitations that the Phoenix clan does. What do you mean? When I faced Riser to free Rias, I used holy water to negate his regeneration. I don't think the necromorph would be affected if they threw holy water at it. We are going to need a capture one and see how we can eliminate it. I can only think if we completely destroy it, similar to how Sir Zex's power of destruction works. Do the trick as the power can eliminate things on a molecular level. You think we will need Rias then? Kuroka says. She will have to see that this isn't just a game. Issei says. You're going to prove that in the rating game, aren't you? Kuroka says. Yes. I got people that shouldn't have to live through this. As he looked at Kanu, only to find her napping. Huh, she fell asleep. Issei says. It's your aura. Kuroka says. What about it? Kuroka turned and placed his hand on his chest. She felt him stiffen a little, but he relaxed. It's warm and comforting. It makes people feel secure, Kuroka says. She feels safe in your arms so she can rest easily. I can see why you're so good with children. They feel safe around you. You don't have to worry about what is happening in the world around them. Huh? Didn't think of much about it. And what are you doing? Issei said. He realized that Kuroka had moved closer to him and rested her head on his shoulder. I'm getting comfortable. I told you that you make people feel secure. I can see why Kano and Lilo-chan like snuggling up to you. Your body heat is also relaxing. As she stretched like a cat and cuddled up to him. I think I'll take a cat nap myself, Kuroka says. What? As he looked down in her direction, faced on her cleavage, only to look back up and let out a sigh. I guess Tanin will have to wait. As the two slept, Issei stared off into the stream and listened to the water rushing. He sensed no other threats and relaxed and thought about the possibilities of what Devlin could come up with. He figured that there were two possibilities. Either they would all come at him at once, or they would split up and whoever encountered him would likely call the rest. He started thinking of what possible traps he could come up with. He did not know how long he remained seated there with Kuroka and Kano cuddled up to him. It wasn't until a small communication appeared beside his ear. Hello? Issei said, keeping his voice low. Issei? Is Kano with you, Yaisa-san? Yeah, her and Kuroka. Kuroka? I didn't expect her till tomorrow, but anyways, how's Kano? She's alright. She's resting now, Issei said. That's good. I just finished a meeting with the Yokai Council to inform you of them of what has happened. They were displeased. As expected, Ryoga had a great influence among them, Issei said. Yes, surprisingly you should see this. Lilith is smiling with Minerva. What? Keep it down, Issei, Kuroka says, smacking his chest and snuggling back up again. It sounds like you got another female. Yasu-san, Issei said. I'm just teasing. But did you have any plans today? Oh yeah, I'm going to the underworld to do some training with the raiding game. I need to challenge in facing Tanin to do some wonders for me. Then you will bring those two back to the castle so you can get going. It says, alright, see you soon. Alright then. As she disconnected the call, with a sigh, Issei shifted to get the two girls off him and wake them up from their slumbers. Time for you two to get up, which earned him groans of annoyance. Hey, you can't sleep the day away, otherwise you won't get stronger. Okay, Kano said, stretching as she got to her feet. You're no fun, Kuroka says. She stretched like a cat before getting herself up, which allowed him to stand up and stretch his legs. His legs felt a bit sore from sitting down for so long, so it felt good to the blood pumping through them again. Ah, that's much better. All right, let's get going. As he began to walk back towards the palace, if he had been paying attention, he would have noticed that Kuroka pouting. She was a bit disappointed that they couldn't spend more time together. She was attracted to him. However, she knew that there were other girls before her. She wasn't going to be smart with it, as she didn't want to force it, cause him to move away. They followed Issei back, and Issei would speak about his possible plans of the raiding game. Kuroka would explain what Kano would be training for today, and Issei would give some tips in hand-to-hand combat with their foxfire. Upon reaching out of the courtyard of the palace, they saw Lilith playing around with Minerva, which Issei was going to see a form of tag. At that time, Minerva was also teaching Lilith how to fight at the same time. Oni-chan, Lilith says. Focus, Minerva replied, as she spun a teleport orb as Lilith dodged, which teleported a clump of dirt instead of orb that hit the ground. Very good. Did you see that? Oni-chan, Lilith dodged it, Lilith said, pumping her fist. I did. Good job. Looks like she's warming up to you, Issei said, turning to Minerva. Well, you must have said something to her, because about 10 minutes after you left, she asked to play tag with me, shrugging her shoulders. It's because she's a good girl, rubbing Lilith's toes, which she smiled at. I want to play too, Kano says. Seems like you're doing better, Kano. I want to get stronger so I can one day beat Oni-sama. Oh? Well, then it seems Kuroka will need to ante your training, Zakusa says. Lilith needs to be trained too. We'll help you too, Lilith Shinemuggle says. Maybe Orphis will help out too. If you insist, Orphis replies. I mean it, Orphis. Alright, Orphis says. Good. Now come here, you two. Giving Lilith and Kano hugs. Be good. I'll see you when I get back. Heading to the underworld, Sir Zex informed me about your media day. It would be in the afternoon, Yasuo says. I can get some training in before then. Alright. You ladies take care. Later, dear. Try not to overdo it, Imagul says. Maybe I'll see you when you get back, Kuroka replied. Don't injure yourself too much. Orphis simply waved. To see you soon, or Oni-sama. Bye, Oni-chan, Lilith says. Issei smiled and made a magic circle that would take him to Tanin's territory. Once he was gone, Yakuza rounded up of the Kuroka. So you're attracted to my son, huh, Kuroka? Yakuza said, making the Nekomata blush. Oh, this ought to be interesting, Minerva replied. Imagul simply let out a sigh, and Orphis made the same motion that she made to Issei, clapping her hands, indicating putting Issei and Kuroka together. Uh-oh, Kano says. Don't hurt my Oni-chan, Lilith says, as she looked at Kuroka. It seems she has a new target. Smiling, as Kuroka wondered if it was a good thing to be attracted to Issei. This was the baggage that came with, and she hasn't even dealt with his birth parents yet. What did I get myself into? Kuroka says to herself. She thought, now we're in Tanin's territory. Issei transported himself in Tanin's territory on the outskirts, as there weren't any dragons around here. Finally made it. Yes, perhaps we should send a greeting, Drake says. My thoughts exactly. Boost, Drake says. A pulse of energy that Issei closed his eyes and took a deep breath, counting down the seconds, as Drake keeps repeating, boost! Same thing, just a little more power thanks to the multiplier of his sacred gear. Boost again, just a little bit more, feeling the power surge through him. Boost again. Come on, one more time. Boost! There we go, Issei says, as he opened his eyes and dragged out his roar muscle to let out a roar, and he roared. Finishing his roar, he waited as silence filled the air. As a moment went by, as another finally got a response. Another roar got it back to him. Get ready, Drake says. Right. As he dragified his arms and red scales, black scales appeared. In addition, his arms combusted with flames coming out of the scales. He sensed something approaching. It was similar to Tanin's energy, which made him smile a bit, but then he saw it in the sky. It looked like Tanin, except it was human size. Noticing something upon seeing them, miniature Tanin, it was smirking at him. One thing he knew about Tanin was that he doesn't smirk. Tanin took things seriously. He didn't get to finish, as the dragon blew its flames at him, so instead he countered with Avers's breath, exhaling his own flames, causing a clash. However, thanks to the giving boost by Drake's, Issei flames began to overpower the dragons. The dragon applied more power to his flame to hold off Issei's. Unfortunately, the clash of the flames gave Issei the cover that he needed as he flew behind the flames towards the dragon. The dragon was focused on the flames. He didn't react in time to the red and black scaled fist appeared out of the flames, decking the dragon on the side of its jaw. As he flew back a few meters and rubbed by brush of jaw. Not a bad hit. As I was saying, who are you? You seem familiar to my son, but you're not him. Huh, if you want to know, you'll have to beat it out of me. Alright, Issei says, shrugging his shoulders. Issei sped towards the dragon. feigning a right hook as he drove his left fist into the dragon's stomach. The dragon grunted in pain before he drove his right into Issei's ribs, getting him to back off as he grunted in pain. Huh? It's been a while since anyone hit me that hard, Issei said, holding where he got. Huh, of course, since I am stronger than many dragons here. We'll see about that, Issei says, speeding towards the dragon again. Issei hit the dragon with a flaming fist. Of course, that he knew the flames weren't really effective against dragons, however, they would momentarily blind the dragon, which allowed Issei to get an extra hit by returning the favor of hitting the dragon in the ribs. It did cause the dragon to back away, unfortunately. Issei was on the offensive. Hiken, Issei says, shooting a flaming fist at the dragon. The dragon brought up his arms as a means to block the attack. However, from the corner of its eye, it saw Issei. Issei had flown quickly to get behind the dragon and send an axe kick towards the dragon's wing. This put the dragon in a slight predicament, as it knew it would either take the flaming fist or axe kick. It tilted its body a little, so rather than getting a hit in the wing, it got hit harder in the shoulder and quickly grabbed Issei's ankle, then used Issei as a shield against his own attack. This forced Issei to block his own attack, but once he did, he got slammed in the back as his cheek got scratched as well. Ah! Issei said, fanning out his wings to stall his fall. Turning back, he had seen the dragon used its tail to hit him. Fine then. The red skull in Issei's arm began to blacken, and the look burnt as more fire protruded from his arms. The flames seemed to have white streaks within them, thus they look whitish orange. Hellfire barrage, Issei says, sending a flurry of flaming fists towards the dragon. The dragon smirked as he felt confident about weaving through the attack, so it changed the direction to fly around. However, Issei never stopped firing the attack, causing the dragon to avoid many flaming fists. What dragon did not know was that these flames were a little different. As it was dodging the fist, one skimmed past its shoulder, thus the fist was activated. Because upon contact with the dragon's shoulder, the fist exploded, rocking the dragon. Boom! It then threw off the dragon's course and ruined its trajectory. As a result, it got hit with the other fist, causing the same effect. Boom, 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 boom. The dragon let out a pained roar from all the hits of explosions that it was enduring. As the smoke cloud was in the air, the dragon couldn't see, so it did not know that Issei created 2 fire spears. They were similarly constructed like light spears. It was something that he had learned from Rainier, or at least a good memory he had of Rainier before she left, when he solidified the relationship with Minerva. Shlink, shlink. A spear that got the dragon in one of its wings, and the other one that got the dragon's side above the hip, and it roared out in pain. With one of its wings busted, it began to fall out in smoke cloud in the sky. As it fell, it could see that Issei had another fire spear to get ready, but it dissipated as he saw the dragon fall. Issei, seeing the dragon fall, dissipated his fire spear and felt that he had won the battle. He was going to assist, but he felt a dark presence heading his way when he turned. He got his answer. Next thing he knew, he felt claws dig into the left side of his chest and rip down the lower half of his right side. The blood flew out from the wound that had been inflicted onto him as Issei flew backwards. Though the blood, he had seen one gold eye and one black eye and a battle-crazed smile. Issei coughed a little blood as his torso was drenched in blood from the now new begin to him by his new adversary. Ha! Well, this is a surprise. I'm shocked you return. But you were a threat, since you did send out a challenge. Crumb crunch, Issei said. Of course, someone like him could easily shred into his skin. Despite his body being better than his last, his skin has yet to reach Great Red's level of defense, but it was still high. It's just not strong enough against someone like Crumb Crunch. He knew that he could face the evil dragon without his armor. He could not. Huh? Looks like someone helped you out a little, problem, pointing out to where the dragon had fallen. Issei looked over and saw Tanin holding his smaller look-alike as the Dragon King flew to the 2 human-eyed dragons. Of course, it would be you to send out a challenge to face me, Tanin says. What can I say? I like to make an entrance, Issei replied. Well, you bested my son, it seems. I watched the battle from afar. You utilized your speed quite well. Staying on the offensive was smart, not giving him time to formulate a plan against you using your fire cover as well. You definitely have improved since the last time I saw you too, Dreg. The honor is ours, Dreg says, as the boosted gear appeared, which surprised Tanin by its new look. Your boosted gear looks different. The black markings and claws are different, Tanin says. Thanks. It came with the new body, Issei says. He activated his gauntlet, causing the black markings to glow as if it had magma flowing in it. You're definitely stronger, Tanin says. I think my partner would disagree, Drake says. Why is that? Tanin replied. Issei simply pointed at the new chest wound that was given to him by Cromcrunch, which the evil dragon chuckled at. Not strong enough, Issei says. Ha! I'm one of the strongest. You may contend with high-class demons, but I'm a above their level, Crom says. I know, otherwise I wouldn't have this, Issei says. I have some phoenix tears that could help. No, I like it, Issei says. I will wear it as a battle scar and reminder that I still need to get stronger so I can fight Cromconch without the need of Drake's armor. Spoken like a dragon. So what brings you here, Tanin says, other than trying to challenge me? I came here to train with you and test myself, didn't you hear? I have a reading game against the BL Hair and Grammary Harris. So, it's about buzzing around about, huh? Ha! If you can face me, then you can face them. They don't even have Fafnir, Tanin says. Fafnir is no longer with Azia? I knew there would be problems, what Kiba told me. I guess it is to be expected, Issei says. Even more surprised. But who chose as a replacement? Tanin says. Who is it? I'll leave you to figure it out. You also better get that cleared up, gesturing to his wound. That's cool. I'll head to the C-Tree Hospital. Better be quick. I think I may join you on the training sessions. The Hirakaku comes by now and then, Crom says. It'd be a shame if he didn't. Wouldn't want my rival to get left behind, Issei said. Ha! We'll see about that. As he flew away, take care, Red Dragon Emperor. I cannot wait for our fight. I'll have to get to Boa somewhere to be healed. You did a number on him with those explosive fists, but it seems that he got a few hits on you. Yeah, my back is probably bruised from that tail swipe he did on me, and it hit at my ribs. Though the bruise is covered by this blood, the same with some scratches here and there. Don't forget the scratch on your cheek. What? As he placed his hand on his cheek and felt two small jackal eyes on the cheek. Huh? When did that happen? Well, he'd be proud of that one, despite losing, Tanin says. I'll give him that, but alright, let me get patched up. I'll have to overcome this pain as we train. Very well, patch up and I'll see you soon, Tanin says. Alright, give me a minute, Issei said as he teleported to the C-Tree Hospital. Tanin chuckled as he flew back to his home to get some phoenix tears, and the boba to heal from his fire spirit wounds, which also castorized, so we would have to reopen them. Now Grigor Azazel's lab. Azazel was working on a possible new artificial sacred gear. He felt a little more at peace now that he was able to apologize to Issei. He knew that Issei didn't say that he forgave him, but Azazel was able to apologize, and that was all he wanted. He just didn't expect for Akeno Hajime to walk into his lab. It surprised him. What can I do for you, Akeno? Azazel said. He knew it was because of her magnet signature as he was looking at developing another sacred gear. I want to talk to you about a raiding game against Issei at the end of this week, Akeno says. What about it? Well, you're better at analyzing people. Do you think you can win? I mean, Kiba kept telling us quality over quantity, and I'm not sure what he did to my father, so I figured I'd ask you. You talked about Aranon about your doubts he was affected too. He doesn't want to talk about it, since Issei did embarrass him in front of everyone, Akeno says. Well, that should tell you something, Azazel replied, which is that Issei was right. You may have the title of high class, but you certainly don't show the power of one. And yes, some of you may show it physically. You don't show it in other aspects, Azazel said. Like what? Like, you were sounding dumb like your boyfriend did. He instigated that fight with Issei and then got it, when Issei dropped him in one blow. I'm sure he didn't, Akeno says. Yes, he did, Akeno. He interrupted. He wanted to prove that Issei was still the same perverted teen that you met and told him about when you decided to cheat on Issei with him. Well, you saw it last night. You saw it in those images of those bases filled with charred bodies, whether they were necromorphs or not. So what did he do to my father, Akeno says. I can only presume that he gave him a vision and it involved you. I fear something will happen to either you or Arion in that raiding game, Azazel says. I don't think Issei would hurt me, Akeno says. I highly doubt that. Thanks to your actions and mine, add in your boyfriend and father's actions as well, I think the fallen angels are near the top of his shit list. He couldn't hate all of us, could he? You remember who brought him into the supernatural world, right? It was Rainier. When she killed him, Inrius revived him, Akeno says. You ever take a look in the mirror, Akeno? Let your hair down, and you look like her with a bigger bust. Back then, from what I heard, he couldn't finish Rainier as his heart was her. He won't hold back against any one of you. You may be the top one to be victimized, and there's nothing your father can do about it, Azazel says. Akeno gulped nervously as she thought about what Azazel had said. She didn't want to believe that Issei changed, but then again, it has been 18 or most since she last saw him. She remembered when they moved back into the former Hyoto mansion. Devlin wanted to give them the best, only for them to realize that it was the same mansion that they had lived in with. Whoever sold it to Devlin would have sold it their things still inside it infuriated Devlin that it was sold higher than its price to value to him. I see. So do you think we will lose? Akeno says. What does it look like to you? Azazel says. I think we have a chance. Do you now? Or that is it Rias's delusional thinking invading your mind? But I will tell you this. I was a failure of a sensei to him, but I know this. He loved you. Each one of you. If you wanted him to change, he would have done this for you. But then again, none of you would have changed for him, so it was guaranteed the relationship would not last. That angel was right. If you love someone, they shouldn't have to change themselves. It just means that none of you loved him, and he knows that. So whatever the memories you have, erase them, because that is no longer the same Issei. The one that helped you accept your fallen angel powers. He's gone, and that is all on you. Akino's eyes widened as she remembered that Issei had done for her, but Azazel continued on. Tell me, would you have done it if Issei told you to not be such a sadomasochistic beat? Azazel said. I don't know. She didn't want to talk about her kinks with Azazel. You would have and moan about it, whereas he would have understood. As for him not paying attention to you, did any one of you give concerns to him? Azazel says, no, but... Akino says, no, exactly. None of you talked with him. I should have noticed it as well. He was lost in thought. And when I shrugged off his pain, he told me to never ask for his help again. Probably why I'm glad that I am not a leader anymore. Anyway, going back to your question, you will lose, and maybe you will see what I saw that night, Azazel says. Akino said nothing, and simply gave a nod, leaving the office, so she could think of herself on what Azazel said. When she did believe, Azazel let out a sigh and continued with his research. I'd like to hope you won't hurt them too badly, Azazel says, but I know it's not the case. I also know you aren't going to doing it because of what they did to you. You're sending a message. May that message strike fear into the hearts of your enemies, Issei. He thought to himself, Azazel did. Meanwhile, Arion had gone to see his brother, Ryok, who was a lieutenant in the Gagar's army. He had worked with Devlin before, so when he heard Arion was joining him, he was proud of his brother. However, he was confused when Arion had met Akino Hajime. He knew that she was the Red Dragon Emperor's. Then reports started coming out that he was part of the Red Dragon Emperor's harem, cheated on him. It was something that he frowned upon. He was disappointed in his superior's Barkyle's decision to support his daughter in infidelity. He wanted to definitely apologize to the man, as Arion thought of himself as the better man, since Akino chose him over a war hero like Issei. Ryok was disappointed in his brother, and had told him that he would have been better man by telling Akino no. Of course, Arion did not listen, and they are still together. It wasn't until recently he heard of the Red Dragon's return. Of course, they would have to pay the price for his services. Since Ryok heard of the contents of the meeting from Shamazad, it was confirmed that Issei had been taking out bases and leaving the charred bodies for them to find in the meeting this morning. It was Issei that assisted Kiba and Gaspar in their mission of saving the missing pieces of Riser Phoenix and also gathering information on knowing who the enemy is. He was shocked to hear that Issei did strike his brother down, but he did not know why. In fear that Issei seeked revenge, and then he informed that Issei told Dulio that Arion was weak. At first, Ryuk was furious, since he knew his brother's strengths, but the Red Dragon Emperor was on another level. After all, there was an uproar when Vali Lucifer was awarded the title of Ultimate Class Demon, but Issei was not, which then caused backlash on the Gremory clan. That's when it was discovered that they had cheated on their hero and he was gone. Ryuk did not know what Issei had done, but to put Arion down in one blow and take on the bases that he did, he was right to assume Issei's strength and never understood why his former girls cheated. Of course, he was not aware that not all of them cheated, just the main ones that had been with Issei when he first started as a demon, so it was a bit surprising to see Arion enter his office to ask for a favor. Good afternoon, brother. I'd like to ask for your assistance talking to the man that had a slick black hair and was dressed in a military form of some sorts, Arion said. What is it this time, Arion? Ryuk says, not turning his eyes away from the paperwork in front of him. I'd like to ask you to join my team in our raiding game against the Red Dragon Emperor, Arion says. At this, Ryuk stopped what he was writing and looked at his brother. Why? Well, he challenged us. Something about cutting his ties to Rias, Arion says. It sounds like it doesn't matter to him whether he wins or loses if she is the prize, Ryuk says. That's the thing. You probably already know that he wants the fallen angels to pay for his services, which is bull. He should do what we tell him to do, Arion says. No, you should do what he tells you to do. From what I hear, he was promoted to an ultimate class demon, therefore outranking you. Actually, he outranks all of you, including me, Ryuk says. So, he's just one guy. Rias was just two of her pieces getting some new recruits as we speak to him down. And it won't make a difference. It's what quality is usually preferred over quantity. You can have so much of a bad product, but it could just take one product to blow them all away. Thus, demand for the good product will overtake the demand of the bad ones, Ryuk says. So you're saying he will take us out? Arion says. Precisely. After all, He is the Red Dragon Emperor, Ryuk says. He may be, but he can't use the boosted gear, Yen says, with a smirk on his face. I don't know why you're smirking, Ryuk says. Think about it. Even Akeno told me he'd always had to rely on his boosted gear. Without it, he's nothing. Even his rivals said so in their first meeting, Yen says. Well, there is one thing that your stupid girlfriend forgot, Ryuk says. Hey, don't call her stupid, Aaron says. Shut up, Arion. She is. And because she chose you, and I'm sorry, little brother, but you can't protect her like he could, Ryuk says. Because he has the boosted gear, when we win, we'll extract it and have it passed on to Devlin, Arion says. Again, you are both morons, and before you interrupted me, I was saying, while he may have been nothing without the boosted gear, you forgot he was built by the dragon gods themselves, considering how he made leaps and bounds into a year of the supernatural world. You gave him an extra 18 months. You don't think that Officer Great Red could have trained that boy in that time, and highly doubt all of you put together as a match for a dragon god, Ryuk says. At this information, Arion's eyes widened and stomach dropped. They did forget that Issei was built from the dragon gods. However, they were unaware that his body is much newer, and with Great Red's further influence, he had the slight resistance to Samuel's poison. It would still be painful, but not as much as before. He only snapped out of it when his brother called to get his attention. There is something I want to know, Arion, Ryuk says. What is it? What did you say that provoked the Red Dragon Emperor for him to attack you? What makes you think I did something like that? Arion says, because he is not someone that attacks without reason. So you clearly provoked him in some sense. So what did you do? Ryuk says. I guess I insulted his family. He was nervous. He didn't want his brother to know what he did, but it didn't matter. He always got his answers. And what did you say? Ryuk says. His glaze bore a hole into Arion, who backed away slowly. He began to mumble what he said, but Ryuk wanted to speak clearly. Speak up, Arion. Arion gulped and looked down to the ground again. I called his mother and his girlfriends were... and the two little girls that came with them will become like his mother. A bit hypocritical of you, Ryuk says. What? Arion says. Well, you're dating us, which is your preference, Ryuk says. She's not a... We haven't even had yet. Maybe some kid fondling, but that's it. As far as I only know who have Leonor in August. Rias and Akeno want to wait for their special day. Either way, she cheated, and when she finds that you can't protect her, she'll move on to someone who can, Ryuk says. That hit Arion hard, as Issei had embarrassed him last night. He still had that bruise on his stomach as well. If what his brother's words are true, then Akeno may be looking for his replacement, and that infuriates him. They needed to win this game to prove how strong his brother was, and he would protect Akeno from that perverted fiend. At least that is what Akeno told the new recruits will vouch for her words. After all, Rias and Akeno were considered oninamas at school. When they graduated, the girls looked up to them. Will you join us or not? Arion says, trying to keep his frustrations down. Sure, it would be an honor to face him, but don't be surprised by the outcome, Ryuk says. And what's that? Arion says. We will lose, Ryuk says. Before going back to his paperwork, Arion gritted his teeth. It was bad enough that Ryuk was insulting Akeno and not approving of their relationship. After all, it was committed through infidelity, and how he said she would leave him. It did make him furious, but he had to wonder if it was true. If he could not, if they could not beat Issei, would she leave because she could not protect her? He made a promise that he would train so they could win. With a huff, he exited his brother's office, while Roar let out a sigh. Ryuk knew that seeing those images and Shamazun's confirmation that Issei was a hunter or a beast that found its prey, hence why he knew that they may not beat him. However, to face the Red Dragon Emperor would be as an honor, knew that he would need to train as well. Now we're back with Issei. He had teleported while civilians were gasping at his conditions. He calmly walked up to the C3 hospital. Luckily for him, Momo was in the lobby helping someone as was stunned by his condition. Whoa, what happened to you? Momo said. Then looking down at the bloody torso. I got blindsided by Crom Crunch, Issei said. Really? Dang, that's going to leave a mark, Momo said. Hey, a battle scar is a battle scar. Think you can get someone to look at it? Yeah, hang on a minute. As she conjured a communication circle and began with someone. While that was happening, Issei looked at the scabbing wound. He knew that he could use it against his opponent. He knew no one was on Cromcrotch's level in either Devlin's or Rias's barrage, so he knew they would think that he was wounded and try to aim for that spot. He also figured that he should stop by Ross Vice's place to speak with Zenobia about training together, since he needed someone that could handle weapons. He knew he would be unavailable as Arthur, and he wanted to surprise Irina. Hey, Rhea's going to have a look at you since she's on break. Momo said, wait, what? No, she doesn't have to end her break for me. Shoot, I misspoke. I meant she's about to go on break. She will be coming in shortly, Momo said. Truth be told, Rhea did arrive. She was a little annoyed because she was about to go on break. Her annoyance turned to worry when she saw Issei's bloody torso in the lobby. Issei, what happened to you? Rhea says. Issei, huh? Come on, Rhea, go get him, she thought to herself before her fellow bishop. I got blindsided by Crumcrunch, who was battling another dragon, and he interrupted. You know, he can be a little battle freak. We don't have any rooms available, so I could take you to my office to get you patched up. I was going to go on my break before Momo called me, Rhea says. Issei looked over at the C3 bishop, who simply smiled and waved. Well, I don't mean to bother you, so can I? Issei said, it's fine. You give me my last patient. Most of the blood looks dried, but we still need someone to clear up the blood. You're bleeding on the floor. I called someone to come clean it up before calling you. Just get him fixed up, okay? Momo said. Good call. Alright, Issei, if you could follow me, please, turning around to begin to walk down the hallway as she came from. Thanks again, Momo, as she followed Rhea. The walk to Rhea's office was relatively quiet between the two. The good thing was the bloody footprints were being left behind just proved that Rhea was right about bleeding stopping. It also made Momo glad, as she was in charge of the cleanup, who called to help with none of her boyfriends. Genshiro likely to gossip about Issei and Rhea. Meanwhile, Issei and Rhea arrived at the office. Issei was a bit surprised by how spacious it was. Wow, I guess Sona does treat her staff well. There's a bathroom over there, so you can wash up. I'll go Momo and see if she can get the rest of Sanji's spare clothes. You seem to be the same size. I think I have a little more muscle than Gen up top, Issei said. I could see that. Before letting out a sigh, I'll see what I can find. Just leave your clothes out there. Thanks, Issei said as he casually stripped out of his clothes. What are you doing here? Rhea says. I'm going to wash up. You could remove your clothes in the bathroom. Well, I used dress break on you and the others. I have seen you naked before, so I guess it's only fair that you see me that way, causing an immense blush to appear on Rhea's face. Here you go. He handed the cloth to her, and she did her best to stay professional. She had seen naked men before, and she was a nurse. It was never in the intimate setting, so seeing Issei in all of his glory, she closed her eyes and reached out her hand on the clothes. She was a bit too late, getting a glance of what he had below the waist. Issei was calm, as he did think it was fair, so he didn't really care. Of course, there were certain girls that he wouldn't expose himself to freely because they were bad partners, who were his friends. Thanks, Rhea says. Once she had her clothes in her hand, I'll be back with your clothes, and from what I saw, the claw marks are looking a bit scabbed, so don't scrub too vigorously so I can get your phoenix steel to heal them up. No, Issei says. Excuse me? Rhea replied, opening her eyes to look at him. I said no. These marks were from a dragon. I will honor them. Even though it was a blindside attack, he still got me. Besides, the battle scar looks pretty cool, and I can use it to my advantage, Issei says. Okay, but still wash it up, so I can see the wound clearly. I'm assuming that you want to give them a target, huh? Smart and beautiful. That's exactly what I want to think with my healing factor. I think I should be fine anyways. You can heal the scar, though. I feel Minerva uses it as what means to mark me. Oh yeah, sure, Rhea says. Then she realized that Issei was still naked. I'm gonna go. Okay, as he watched Rhea leave before he realized that he needed to contact Riser, he created a communication circle to reach out to the Phoenix. Yes, Riser says. Think you can set up that meeting later on today, Issei says. Sure, I don't see the issue. I'll let you know what they say. Thanks. No problem, Riser says. The two disconnected as the call. Issei went to the shower, and he was cautious of his chest wound, and did what Rhea said, scrubbing there so hard. He watched as the water turned red due to the dried blood on him, but it slowly started to fade to a very light pinkish color. Seems Kron got the drop on us, Drake says. Yeah, he did, but it shouldn't be expected he's stronger than I am without armor. Yes, you will have to be cautious regarding your injury. At least your healing factor is coming into effect, Drake says. That's true. It won't keep me out of action for too long, huh? I wonder what Sanji wants, as he sends Vitra to carry her outside. Finishing his shower, he dried himself up, using the towel, using his magic. His magic was more slightly cauterized his wound. He used lotion that Rhea kept in the bathroom. It was unscented, which is understandable, as she wouldn't want to aggravate a person's sense of smell by wearing something that smelled strong. Once finished, he stepped outside to meet Sanji, who had his clothes. It was nothing drastic, just black pants and a black t-shirt. Sup, said you need some clothes. Dang, who you up? Sanji said, seeing his friend's injury. Well, thanks for clothes, but I thought your girlfriend would have explained it to you, Issei said. She did, but I wanted to hear from you about what happened. While I was fighting appeared to be Tanin's son, and I had sent out a challenge when I had the upper hand. Crom Crunch appeared and gashed me, thought I was an enemy until he probably sensed drag or at least an essence of Great Red and Orphis before deducing that it was me, as he put out his pants that were given to him. Jeez, I guess it's to be expected. Dude's in the top 10 for a reason. By the way, how's that move coming along? You know, the one you tested before you left. It came along just fine. Issei said, nice. And by the way, you should take Rhea out to lunch. You know she likes you, right? Kenshiro says. Yeah, and that's a good idea. I'd like to show she was doing the time has passed, along with the rest of you. Huh, well, we're doing alright. Some of us are working at the hospital at Sona's Academy. We rebuilt it. Loop is a combat teacher there, so you won't see him much around here. What about you? Issei says. I go through both, making sure it's all in order. Oh, I forgot to mention, but Ross Vaisa also works at the academy. Sometimes Kiba and Zenobia help out with the weapons training. Yeah, I need to speak with Zenobia about that. Weapons training? Sanji says. Oh yeah, I can't exactly use Kiba. It'll give Devlin an excuse for when I beat them. Arthur is with Folly, and they're tracking down former Chaos Brigade soldiers who may have Orphis snakes, so they don't fall into enemy hands. What about Irina? She's probably the only person that you haven't seen yet. Did the angels ever tell you why she hasn't at the meeting? Sanji said. They gave her time to be with her family. Remember, they didn't know that I would be coming to the meeting, so they couldn't inform her. They will likely debrief her, and she will give Michael an earful when she finds out and calls me. I did tell her that I wouldn't be hiding, though. She likely had a rating game, and I'll see her afterwards. Why not before? Sanji says. I want our reunion to be special. I'd like to spend time with her the moment I see her. I won't get that luxury. I got an imminent fight to prepare for. Okay, wouldn't she be mad at you training with Zenobia? Sanji said. Maybe, but it will get the two talking. I've come to respect Zenobia from what you guys have told me. She's showing maturity and owning up to her faults, something I can respect. Issei says. And she didn't tarnish Sona's legacy either. She may have been an airhead about most things, but not her responsibilities. Anyway, I better let Rhea know that you're ready. You should probably lay out on the couch. Sanji says. Thanks, Issei replies. As Sanji was leaving, he let out a chuckle. What's so funny? Just thinking of what you three brunette wives with a mini Issei running around 3, and what's so funny about that? Issei says, well, if it works out, Rhea would be 1. Irina, obviously, and that chick you defeated last night kind of looks like Irina. You might have not seen it, but when you placed her behind you, she had that look that she definitely wanted your babies, and she and Irina got that same energetic attitude. So imagine how the kids would be, making Issei blush a little. How can you be so sure about that? The look, I mean. Because my girls gave me the same look, dude. As he left the room. It left Issei to ponder in his thoughts about Natsume. The woman was definitely attractive. It did make him shudder a bit about the energetic kids that he could have. He also knew that he was a kid, so that would only make things more troublesome in the future. As he laid on the couch, Rhea walked in. She had gloves on some of the other equipment. Hey, are your pants in the wash at the moment? We had to burn your shirt, Rhea says. It was that messed up, huh? Issei said. He was fully aware of why it was burned, since it had his blood on it. Someone could try to use it and try to obtain Great Red's power. Yeah, gashed lines really ruined it, and since you don't want any Phoenix tears, I'll have to stitch you up, Rhea says. Issei groaned at the prospect of getting stitches. He knew he would need to nullify his scales, so Rhea could weave the needle through. With his healing factor, he could only get them out tomorrow, as he didn't do anything rigorous. Fine, just numb me up, Issei says. Considering the marks that wound you were acting earlier, I thought you could take the pain, Rhea says, giving a smile. Well, I love to a needle go through me constantly, and it would feel like an itch that would want to scratch, Issei says. I know, don't worry, I have something numbing agent that should help. And I would need to reopen this wound for me to apply the Phoenix tear as well. Well, I'll leave it in your hands, Doctor, Issei says. I'm just a nurse assistant, Rhea replied. Well, you're my doctor at this moment, so I'll leave it to you, closing his eyes as he prepared for these things to come. I'm going to use some alcohol to clean the wound from infection, something Issei groaned about, Rhea says. Rhea dabbed a cloth with some alcohol and began to apply it, causing Issei to wince a little. Once she cleaned, she took the needle and began to apply the numbing agents in the gashes after she took a scalpel and began to remove the scabbed flesh to his old scar, so the Phoenix tear could fully heal it. Since did it without numbing, she could hear Issei's growl in pain. Sorry, Rhea says. Don't be, Issei replied, reaching out and gripping her thigh to assure her that it was alright. It took a lot for Issei not to caress it, because it felt nice. On Rhea's side, she was a bit shocked that he gripped her thigh, but she was wearing pants, so the shock were off as she continued her work. She knew that when she hit a spot that got Issei. It would strengthen the grip of her thigh and loosen up when the pain subsided. Okay, I removed the old flesh and opened up the wound. The phoenix tear should be able to heal it completely. As she applied the phoenix tear, she watched that the dragon tear began to work and heal the wound completely as she began to prepare the needle and thread to stitch his torso. I'll begin stitching your torso. You shouldn't feel much now. As Issei groaned in response, she began to start stitching the gash. She knew it would be a while since there would be 4 slashes across his chest. Issei kept his grip on her thigh as she worked away. She was lucky that Momo made sure that she didn't stare her break yet, noted that she was busy with a patient so that she could have full length of her break. Hey Rhea, Issei says. Yes? Rhea says, they said you were going to take a break before I walked in. Yeah, but I still have my full break time when I'm done here thanks to Momo. That's cool. Want to get lunch with me? She was a third way done with the gash, and the question shocked her a little. She did not expect her to ask to go lunch with them. Are you sure? Rhea says. Yeah. Plus, I never got to hang out with you, so why not take an opportunity to do so? Sure. Where do you want to go? You haven't been in the underworld for a while, Rhea says. My thoughts exactly. I was hoping you would pick the place since you've been around here. Okay, let me finish this up and get you bandaged. Sweet. They both didn't realize Issei was subconsciously stroking her thigh. Rhea didn't mind once she noticed and continued her work of stitching up. Hey Rhea, I'm curious of your magic that I never asked about. Where did you learn from? Okay, I learned from my grandmother. She was a witch. She told me the supernatural world and thought that I met Sona. Huh? It's definitely useful. You could be like a spy or espionage missions or something. Well, it's possible, but I'm not a fighter. Neither was Invigold. Maybe you can swing by and train with us. I'll even try to get you guys some transport seals that'll take you to our house, since I won't be hiding from the factions anymore. You really mean that? I could train with you, Rhea says? Yeah, we're all going to need to get stronger against those guys we saw. Okay, then I'll gladly be joining your training. And we're done. I'm going to swab your wound again and you can sit up. I'll need to bandage you. Okay, he let her do her thing of swabbing the wound. You can sit up now. I'm going to have to ask you to let go of my thigh, taking a professional tone in her voice. Rhea says, he completely forgot that he was still holding her thigh. Sorry, it's alright. Let me help you sit up. As he supported Issei from his prone position, now face me with the arms up. Issei did as she instructed him to, and watched her move around her instruments. Issei was not going to lie to himself. If he and Rhea got together, he could see her as stay-at-home mom. He didn't mind that he wanted his potential family protected. Rhea got the bandages she needed and began wrapping his torso. There were moments while she was wrapping that Issei was close to her neck and that he wondered what it would like to hold her. Wow, I'm physically attracted to Rhea. Who would have thought? Issei says, you're both attracted to each other. First the black cat, and now the sea tree's bishop. You've marked the angel, not intimately, the artificial demon, the Leviathan Harris, and the phoenix. Also, your friend was right about the other woman. You sensed her hormone levels, didn't you? Drake says, yeah, man. Gen was right. He says, I'm sure you can handle 7 girls. Maybe 8 or 9. You'll have to see what happens. Drake says, thanks for the moral support. Issei says, as he deadpanned. Okay, you can put your shirt on. As he moved towards the sink to wash her hands, anything that Issei's blood would gather in the trash prepared to be burned. I'll meet you out front. Just need to dispose of this, Rhea said. He snorted out of his plan for the day. So far, it was to hang out with Rhea for a little bit, then go see Zenobia about her with training. After that, it was likely he would have dinner with the Phoenix to ask Ravel the hand in marriage. He'll have to inform Minerva and Invigold that he wouldn't have to be late and might hear as likely what Invigold would worry. Would she see the bandages? Ready to go, Rhea says, as he came out of the hospital to meet up with him. Well, you know where we're going. Lead the way, he smiled at her. There's a place that makes some pretty good cashew chicken. The underworld has been incorporating new cuisines from the human world. Cashew chicken? Follow me and you'll see. Issei shrugged his shoulders and followed after Rhea. They kept to a small talk, usually about their grandmothers, since it was Rhea's grandmother that taught her how to use communications and spying ability. She still used her artificial sacred gear, scouting persona, and she had gotten better with her hiding her mask, which gathered information on enemies. Issei noted that it's almost similar to his panalingual. I thought you changed it. Sanji said you did. Rhea says, I did, but that's a secret. I assume you're going to use it in the raiding game, huh? Yeah. Got the intel. Figure out their plan, counter it, or I could just brute force it. They probably will expect you to brute force, as they think you're still a pervert and reckless, Rhea says. Yeah, figured as much. With Akino's boyfriend was insulting me, I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. Issei says, done what? Oh, you know. Leaning into her ear and whispered, have What? Reyes says. Yeah, my dragon senses picked up on Akeno and Reyes are still virgins. Surprisingly, Azia and Konako are not. Shouldn't surprise me. Konako most likely went into heat after what Ross Weiss had told me about Lunar. He probably convinced Azia to get in bed with him. Akia was also a pervert like me, so it was a bit hypocritical on Azia's part to maintain that friendship with her, but break bonds with me. I see. Here we are, Reyes says. It was a small Chinese restaurant, nothing fancy, just a simple restaurant. It looked like... It looked like the place, and frankly, he was glad that Rhea was a simple woman. Someone didn't like to mind it not having luxuries in life. Hello, Rhea-san, the waitress said. Oh, you brought someone with you today. Boyfriend, perhaps? Sorry, he's just a friend. He hasn't been here a while, so he's a bit new. Oh, I see. You hear the Red Dragon Emperor is challenging the Biel and Marie Parages, or at least that's the rumor going around. Issei raised an eyebrow and realized that people didn't recognize him because of his new look. It made him realize that he got into incognito for a while, at least on the media day. He's also grateful that Rhea didn't say his name to the waitress, as he would have caused some unwanted attention. Yeah, that's what I heard too. It's supposed to be at the end of the week, Rhea says. Really? This is big. You think there will be a media day or something? I wonder what he looks like. It's been, almost 2 years since he's been around. 18 months, Rhea says, she corrected. Would have been nice if he was around, though all these monsters have been putting other people on edge. I can understand why he did leave. Though I would take my time myself if my significant other cheated on me, the waitress said. Rhea said, which was just a nod. Well, I'll show you to your seats. Follow me, as she led the two inside the small establishment. Here are your seats. Would you like any drinks? Water is fine, as Issei simply nodded in agreement. All right, and cashew chicken for you, Rhea. Considering the waitress knew what Rhea would order, he knew that he was a regular here. Considering how small the place was, it wouldn't surprise him for them to be their customers. Yes, please. And how about you? Turning to Issei. I'll have what she's having. Letting out a nervous chuckle, and then he realized something. Wait a minute. Why am I nervous? It isn't because I'm on a date. This is a date, right? Are you okay? Rhea says. What? He also realized that the waitress had left. As if you were okay. You look spaced out. Sorry, I got into my thoughts, and thanks for not telling them my name. Issei says. Well, I don't think either one of us want the wrong publicity, and I just want the peaceful lunch before we're heading back to the chaos of the hospital, Rhea says. Which I got to ask. Why did you take up being a healer? Well, I like to help people. I'm not appropriate for combat, which I told you that since I'm a spying specialist, Rhea says. I guess that's true. Your powers reflect your personality. You are polite and would like to help others, so it makes sense, Issei says. Any missions that we take, I'm usually far back. I act as support, but I improved my arsenal of spells, thanks to Ross Weiss's senpai. That's great to hear. It seems you and Momo are a lot of help at hospitals, too. Yeah, people are nice to work with. Then the waitress came back with their waters. Here you go with your food. Should be a few minutes, the waitress said. Thank you, Rhea replied. No problem, subtly winking at Rhea, who raised an eyebrow in confusion as the waitress walked away. So, you were talking about helping people, Issei said. Right, I just felt like it was more of my calling. Nothing wrong about that. Fighting is more of mine, but I don't always want to be fighting, Issei said, because you want to live somewhere with your harem. Rhea says, nah, guess I didn't tell you about this 18 or so months. What? Technically, this is our second date, Issei said. Ha! It was then that Rhea remembered how they went clothes shopping for his date with Ravel, and he brought out an outfit that they had lunch. Oh, right, as she groaned and remembered what had happened in her office. What's up? I just remembered that we talked about the incident of you seeing us naked and back, as well as repeated again in the office, Rhea says. Oh, well, guess we forgot. Anyways, I'd like my world peaceful. My harem king dream changed. That's not obtainable when these guys are like areas that exist. I want a world where there is peace and none of my friends have to fight. That sounds nice, Rhea says. Not only that, I want a future of those that come for me as peaceful as well, like Kano, Lilith-chan, Milikis, and even Aria-chan. Aria-chan, Rhea says? Serzex's daughter, my niece. Oh, right, I forgot about another baby. Leviathan-sama was gushing in the hospital about. Here you go, 2 plates of chicken. Enjoy, as the food came down in front of them. Thank you, Rhea says. Thanks, Issei said, as the waitress gave a nod and left the two. Well, irakumasu. Rhea simply smiled and watched as Issei took a bite out of his food to gauge his reaction. She also took a bite out of her own food in the process, but kept an eye out. She didn't want him to have a bad experience. She was happy when she heard him groan and content. Issei said, chewing a bit more and swallowing his food. This is good. I'm glad you like it, Rhea said. We should see if we can get the recipe, he whispered to her. I already know it, she whispers back. She liked seeing his eyes light up. The boy's charm was still there. Even if he looked more handsome, those two continued to laugh about the recipe being their secret and reminded Issei of his sacred food with Irina. It troubled Rhea a little when she saw his smile falter a bit. What is it? Rhea says. Sorry, was just thinking about being this. Our secret reminded me of our own secret food with Irina. What food is that? Well, if I told you, it wouldn't be a secret, Issei said. I get that. I just don't want you to accidentally make you and become sad about it later on. Rhea says. Really? You'd cook for me? Issei says. I don't see the issue, Rhea replied, but thinking to herself, that is what a wife does for her husband, Issei. Well, I look forward to your cooking, Issei says. If it makes you feel better, you could tell Aaron about our secret food, Rhea says. Then it wouldn't be our secret anymore, Issei says. Now you're just acting cheeky, Rhea replied, as the kind of corner of his threatening to curl up. Huh, you got me. I'll think about it, okay? Issei says, of course, reaching out and holding his hand, which Issei liked and never pulled back. You know this is better than when I got a burger I got you. We can do that. When we visit you, you like a barbecue. Great idea, Issei said. The two continued to eat their food, also making plans for when the Siege Parage could visit. Of course, they never let go of each other while they talked. They were so lost in their conversation. They didn't notice the waitress watching and squealing in excitement. She even took a picture of the potential couple. They finished their food and still continued to talk. They learned that the grandmothers were similar in attitude. They discussed some healing magic, as Issei didn't want nor Imagul to overwork themselves if he got injured. The waitress didn't want to interrupt the couple, but she had to do her job. Okay, I see that you guys are done eating. Would you like dessert, or are you ready to pay? We'll pay. I gotta get back to the hospital. Don't want her to be late for her shift. When he looked at the time, unless we can take a go, Issei said, yes, you can. I can ring it up and come back with your card and dessert. Okay, then turn back to Rhea. What would you like? Oh, I'll take some red bean buns, Rhea says. Okay, I'll go get that prepared for you. Just hold a bit, the waitress said. Issei/Rhea said at the same time, thank you. As the waitress walked away from Issei's card, she couldn't help but notice that they were still holding hands. She definitely needed to gossip more about Rhea about this the next time they saw the Siege Bishop. You don't have to pay, you know, Rhea says. No, I invited you out, so I think I should have to. Gotta show chivalry's not dead, Issei says. I guess, Rhea said, as she laughed about his humor. They continued to talk about the waitress, came back with a small bag and Issei's card. Okay, here are your red bean buns and your card. Thank you for your much stopping by, the waitress said. Thanks. As they signed the receipt, he also left a hefty tip, since he knew that they kept his card on file for payment while adding the dessert to their bill, which Rhea had. Shall we? Issei said. Yes, Rhea said, as the two got up from their seats. Come again. She wasn't sure if they noticed or not, but Rhea and Issei were still holding hands. The two continued their walk back to the hospital, coming up with the plans for Siege Parage visit, but also Issei's training schedule. Rhea noted that she'd stop by again so she could check on the stitches. They continued as their walk until they reached the front of the hospital. Thanks for coming to lunch with me, Issei said. It's no problem, Rhea replied. Then we can do this again sometime, Issei said. Well, I don't distract you from your training with Tani and possibly Crunch, Rhea said. I'll try to stop by when I can, Issei says. Take your time. Thanks again. Giving him a kiss on the cheek and letting go of his hand, walk inside the hospital. Same as last time, part of the Siege Parage was watching from the inside, and we're going to start asking questions. Meanwhile, Issei put his hand on the cheek that she kissed, while also looking at the hand that she held, when she was no longer able to see her. Well, you're beginning to fall back for the Black Cat. It seems you have already fallen for the Siege Bishop. You think so? Issei says. I know so. I've been watching you the whole time. You do realize, when she held your hand in the restaurant, you never let go? She is someone that you don't want to let go. You're even looking at someone like a hand she once held. You're smitten by her, partner, just like you were with the others. They have qualities that draw them to you, Drake says. I guess you're right. Who would have thought that I would fall in for Ryukikosha? He chuckled to himself. Now, one more thing to do for them prepared for dinner with the Phoenixes. Don't forget, you will need to contact Yakuza, so she knows not to expect you tonight. That's right. I'll do the Zeke's place. I'll do that at Zeke's place, Issei said. Now it's Zeek-san now, Drake says. Hey, she doesn't like that Zeek-chan name. Too informal, and tastes also Rias's when they gave it to her, so I'll give it an informal nickname. Fair enough. Good enough with the blue fair, Drake says. I think it'll be alright, as he teleported from the hospital to the Agaris territory. Upon arrival, he realized that he didn't know where Revice's place was in Sekivaris territory. Because of this, he had to ask for directions from the Agaris servants. Excuse me, I was wondering if you could direct me to Ross Vice's place. Ross Visa, the servant says. Yes, she has long silver hair. She knows the Lady Sigvaris' pieces. Oh, well, she's not around. I'm afraid I cannot permit you to enter her territory. But I'm Issei Hyodo, the Red Dragon Emperor, her ally, Issei says. You're Issei? Are you sure? I heard the Red Dragon looked more boyish than rugged. It's been 18 months. People change in time, dude, Issei says. Issei? The worst person says. Ah, Lady Zenobia. You know this man? As Issei had turned and stared at Zenobia, he wasn't really checking her out before, but now he could. Her hair grew to the reach of her shoulders, and her figure was fuller, even her breast got a little bigger. He could also tell that she was keeping in shape by the look of her muscle tone. It was much more defined than Kuroka's, but not as defined as his own. She was wearing a sleeveless black shirt and some jeans, plus she was carrying groceries. I can take them from here. Thanks, Zenobia says. Very well. I'll leave you in Lady Zenobia's care, addressing Issei again as he left Issei and Zenobia. So Lady Zenobia, huh? Issei says, yes. I got used to it. Sorry to inform you, but Ross Visa is still at the academy. Actually, I was heading to Ross Visa's place to look for you. Me? For what? She got nervous. She had just seen him last night, and she wasn't sure about the confrontation so soon. To train. Huh? Zenobia says. We can talk while we walk. Just direct me to the direction of Ross Visa's place in. Follow me, Zenobia said. She started walking towards her right, and Issei followed. For a few moments, there was nothing but silence. While Zenobia was nervous, Issei was calm. Anyone could tell with how he was walking, but he was going to stretch his arms and clasp his hand behind his head. But he felt a tinge of pain from his torso and decided against it. Seeing as how Zenobia wasn't going to start the conversation, Issei figured he might as well. So, Issei says, huh? About training. Oh, what about it? Can you train with me? I need to be able to use Murasama for my raiding game, Issei says. Okay. What does it have to do with me? Zenobia says. I need someone who can use weapons. I can't rely on Kiba because I don't want to give Devlin excuses for when he loses, and Arthur is likely to be busy with Volley Team hunting down with the former Chaos Brigade members to secure the remainder of Orpheus' snakes. Vienna and Tome would help me much despite their skills. What about the two girls that you were with? Zenobia says. Minerva learns more towards hand-to-hand combat, and so does Invigold, who prefers to act as support. Yes, they know how to use weapons, but they're not specialists like you are. Who told you that? Zenobia said. Ross Visa did. She said you're using other weapons other than the Rondel and Excalibur, along with your magic improving. Really? If Issei looked, he would have seen a twinkle in her eyes. Something that he would wear could happen because Ross Visa told him that Zenobia get excited about weapons. So, what about weapons? What about the other weapons you use? Oh, I have this black wakashashi. It's a gift from Ross Visa. It was called with metal from Asgard. Dwarves told her that it's the same metal that can be used as Thor's hammer, a gift they wanted to give her for helping with sealing the Trihexa. I also have a few other wakasas for metal. It's not the same, but it's still decent though. The Asgardian one is the heavier, which I should have expected, so I used my money to have others made heavier to get used to it. That's smart, Issei said. Zenobia continued. I also have hunting knives. You know close range. I even learned a little bit with polar arms and not the same level as KOKO, so I decided to try using my scythe to kill like Biana. Tobio helped me with that because they're his specialty. Wait, why didn't you ask him? He's great with weapons. Better than me. And you've trained with me before. Because he is associated with the fallen angels, and I don't want to deal with the Barkiel again, Issei said. Oh, I thought you were fine with them because you were talking with the Zavel, and we're here, Zenobia says, stopping in front of the small mansion. Let me get that. Taking the groceries from Zenobia so he could open the door. From what he could see, it was the biometrics. He saw something scanning Zenobia's eyes. He should have known that Skibara would have a high-tech security measures as Zenobia began to insert the code as well. He was impressed as Zenobia explained that she had a placed code to let the system know she had a guest. There we go. As she opened the door, but I was saying, you were talking with Azazel last night. Yeah, following into her mansion, he was apologizing. Could I apologize too? Zenobia says, taking the groceries for him to the kitchen and setting on the table. Not expecting you to, Issei said, but I need to. I owe you that much. I can never take away the words that I said, Zenobia said. No, you can't, Issei replied. I was perverted too. Still am. I had no reason to be a hypocrite. I also realized that I was wrong about Sanji. He could be as perverted as you. Volley, not so much. Frankly, I lost my way to see that I was preferred you. Irina was right. You gave me a purpose, and I on it. Zenobia said, yes, you did. Issei replied, I know. But I want to apologize for the words I said. I'm sorry for that. I could never take back what I said. I choose the wrong people. I should have stuck by my friend. Someone I considered a sister by insulting you. I insulted her. I'll never forget her words to me. And they were, she said, it was nice knowing you. Since then, we haven't talked. I've tried to talk to her, but nothing. She stuck by those words, and I deserve it, Zenobia says. At least you're improving as a person. From what the C-Tree Paraj said, you were a hell of a student council president. Even if I don't like you as much, I'm proud that you stuck true to your responsibilities. We're also tracking time to learn new things. Rosvisa said you improved your magic, which is good. I tried to get better. I even incorporated magic into my attacks, like imbuing by throwing hatchets and to inflict more damage to the opponent. Use hatchets too, Issei said. Zenobia replied, which caused Issei to laugh. It made her feel embarrassed. So what's your point? What weapons can't you use? Well, that girl you defended, Natsume, Tobio's teammate, she uses guns. I tried firing one and recoil knocked me back. I wanted to try range weapons because I had seen years of using bows and arrows with her light magic. It's kind of ironic how she looked up to me, and now I'm looking up to her. By the way, you didn't get your gift from Tobio's team? It might help with the necromorphs, but Ravel should have delivered it to you. Oh, I forgot about that. I'll have to ask her about it tonight, Issei says. Dinner plans, Zenobia says. I'm going to speak with her parents about having her hand in marriage. Really? That's amazing. What about Irina? Zenobia says. I'm a traditionalist. I'll speak with her parents too. With Rosvisa, I'll speak with her grandmother. Can't really ask for permission from Minerva and Ingvild, but I already showed Yakuza's son the rings. I still have to show them to my mother. Oh, that's a relief, Zenobia said. It steals wet up her eyes. She smiled. I'm so happy for her. After you show the rings to your mother, could I see Irina's ring? You're happy for her? Issei says, why wouldn't I be? She may not see me as a friend, but I like to see her happy, and you're her dream guy. You know she talked about you during our times with the church, mostly about your times when you were children, but she confessed about giving you her first kiss. So you knew about that, huh? Issei says, yeah, but you remember how I was before I joined Rias's Paraj? I didn't think too much about romance, Zenobia said. That's right. You were like a busty blue-haired version of Orpheus back then. Issei, but Zenobia had a blush on her face about the comparison, but looks like you're learning emotions. You're faster progress on the other two. Zenobia says. Orpheus and Lilith-chan. Oh, Zenobia says. Maybe Lilith-chan is catching up with you. When she gets annoyed, she copies Kano by puffing her cheeks and she's pouting. Irina did the same thing when we were trained to the Exorcist, letting out a chuckle of her own. She did when we were kids, too. Issei said, so does Natsume. It reminds me of Irina a little. I thought the same. Why am I attached? That's probably why I'm attached to her. Zenobia laughed at that. I have no right, but could you help me put these away? Zenobia said, dressing the groceries. That's fine, but you haven't answered my questions, he says, about training. Zenobia says, yes, Zen, about training. Would you be my training partner of any weapons? Issei said, Zen. Zenobia says, easier to say than Zenobia. Zen, I like it, thank you, and I don't mind being your training partner. Great, then. And Zen, I'm sorry for what happened to you, what Leonard did to you, and what he could have done to you. It caused Zenobia to stiffen. She clutched the floor tightly, remembering what Lunar did to her. She remembers feeling his blade seared through her flesh and unceremoniously kicked out from the team. She remembers seeing Asia's look of disappointment and guilt, but never once did she receive an apology. When the truth came out, she remembers how Lunar tried to force himself onto her when she was bedridden, the tears of anguish being nearly tears of joy when Rosvisa and Ravel stopped him. Zenobia, Issei says, no response. Zenovia, Issei says, still no response. Zenovia! The roar startled her so much she threw the back on the floor, which Issei effortlessly caught. He watched Zenovia covered her head and hands started crying. He just listened to her sobs. He could see that it was still tough for her getting past that experience. Zenovia, I need you to look at me, Issei says. It got her to uncover her eyes, because still the tears and pouring out from her eyes, while she stared into his amber eyes that steeled themselves, so you could not know what emotion he was feeling. While you and I may not be friends, or have the relationship that we once did before, you are Rosvisa's ally, which makes you my ally. Lunar is going to get what's coming to him, and you will be free. I'm sure you remember how I told you the story of Rainier back then, right? She gave a nod. So I understand what you were going through a little. It must have sucked for you to be in the same room as him last night. Huh, Issei says. You have no idea. Zenobia says, speaking between sniffles. I may not kill him, but I will put him down. I don't like him. Plus, he tried to make a play on my woman. I'm not going to let that slide. You will see he is nothing beneath your shoe, and you will no longer be afraid when you see his broken body. But right now, I am going to need you at your best. You once trained with him, so help me figure out his weak spots. I can do that, Zenobia says. Good. Now let's finish packing up these groceries, and you can get some rest. Issei says, okay, Zenobia replied. Now, where does this go? Referring to the bag of flour he caught Considering this was his first time in Rossweiss's place, he didn't know his way around. I'll show you. And Issei, what? Thanks. And if I didn't say it before, I'll say it again. I'm sorry. My mistake cost me, but at least it showed me who my true friends are. I hope one day you and I can be friends again. He nodded. He had yet to forgive, but he did appreciate the apology. And Irina, Issei said, I hope to be friends with her, and I hope I can be invited to your wedding. She was my best friend. I'd like to see her happy. Zenobia says, I'd like to see her happy too. Thank you for apologizing. Now let's finish up so I can work out training schedule with you before I let some rest. With a nod, they continued unpacking the groceries. Issei was doing best not to wince as he moved around. He also made sure Zenobia did not notice it either. They continued to unpack in silence, only talking when Issei asked for something wet. With groceries cleared, Zenobia began to discuss her schedule so Issei could find some openings. Tomorrow looked like an ideal for them, and the day after that. This pleased Issei as he could check in with Rhea, first about the stitches, since Zenobia would be available in the afternoon. Okay, so we can go tomorrow afternoon and the day after that. That sounds good to me, Zenobia says. Thank you for your time, Zenobia. Thanks for talking with me. I'll go lie down. Rossweiss's senpai should be back any moment as she wanted her towards the staircase. And Issei, he turned around, but he could see that she was not facing him, but she could feel his stare on her. No matter how many times I say it, I am grateful for what you have done for me, even though I didn't appreciate your actions. I regret saying those words that night of the Trihexa celebration, and I am forever in your debt. Thank you for letting me apologize to you. Have a good evening. As she climbed the stairs into her room, Issei simply watched her go. He wanted to make sure that she at least made it, and then continued to track her manual signature and listen for any sounds. He waited a few moments, but he didn't hear any thuds, but it felt as if her signature was stationary. He would have gone up just to check, but he detected another outside, so he concealed his own. When the doors opened, Rossweissa entered cautiously. She had detected a manual signature in here, but now it was gone. Rossweissa checked Zenobia's manual signature as it seemed to be in her room, so whoever was here may have not harmed her. She was about to go check on her night piece until she had some breathing. Looking over her shoulder, she screamed it was about to cover until her hand covered her mouth. Miss me? Issei says. Hearing his voice, Rossweissa caught panically body to relax as she slowly turned to him and gave her a cheeky smile. How? What? Oh, Zenobia let me in. I needed to talk with her. Since you said we were coming soon, I decided to wait a little bit and surprise her since we were alone. He tailed off and pulled closer to her, pressing her body against his lips against hers, giving her a passionate kiss. But he was still a bit stunned as Issei removed his lip at her jaw down her neck before kissing her back up to her ear. Don't forget it, he whispered in her ear before he suckled on it, gaining a small moan from her. Taking his hands and massaging her body until he cupped her. Okay, we're gonna skip this part. Seems I don't want to do with these stitches, pulling up to her shirt with red blotches on his torso. What happened? Rossweissa said. Had a little run-in with Cromcrunch. He blindsided me. I should be good, but personally, I wanted to enjoy my time, and you further on. But it seems like I can't do anything too rigorous. Oh, are you okay? Yeah, I got checked on by the hospital, got some stitches. Then it'll be fine now. Just need to take it easy. That's good, but why didn't you use a phoenix tear? Oh, you figured it out without saying it. Plus, it shows some honor to someone who broke through my defenses even though it was a blindside hit, I suppose. What is it? I got a little over an hour with you and I have a dinner with the phoenixes. Oh, Rossweissa says, where's your room? I think I can help de-stress. Rossweissa gave him a strange look. Nothing. Just a massage. I could use a massage. The students were quite something today as she hopped on the counter and took his hand, leading him to the staircase. Like I said, I'm here to de-stress you. I must know you have a nice place. Thank you. Zenobia helped a little bit. She's got taste. Speaking of which, you talk with her? How'd it go? It wasn't bad. She apologized and she's going to help me train. Really? Rossweissa said. Yeah. I told her she'd no longer be afraid when she sees Leonard's broken body. I hope it helps her, Rossweissa says. It will. She will no longer be tormented by his presence. I had something, but despite Rainer's demise, she still taunted me, and I got over it. But she was still a part of her. The part I wanted, but he was still with me. How did it go? Rossweissa says, as she stopped at the door and opened it, bringing him inside. I'll talk about it during your massage. She gently shut the door, but he did check on Zenobia's symmetry, assuming she had fallen asleep. This ought to be an interesting story, Rossweissa said. Yeah, maybe first you need to go strip. It'll be tough to the muscle with those clothes on. He spoke like in a business-like tone. Had an operator toned voice, I assumed you were trying to get me. As she walked to her cutting bathroom, leaving a blushing Issei. Today is looking to be a good day, smiling to himself as he got to spend time with 3 beautiful women that would be preparing to ask another's hand in marriage. Yeah, a good day indeed. And that is the end of chapter 13. That is all I'm going to say for now. My voice is quite clapped.